Have you ever really stopped to think about what money actually is? I mean, not just the cash or cards, but the idea itself, how it started, how it's changed.
And where it might be going next. It's a fascinating question.
Exactly. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Andreas Antonopoulos' work, The Internet of Money. Our goal here is really to unpack the core ideas from this source. We want to get our heads around how Bitcoin challenges, our whole concept of money. What does it mean for society? And what makes it, according to Antonopoulos, so revolutionary?
Yeah, and Antonopoulos is a really great guide for this stuff. He just has this knack for making complex tech concepts super clear. There's that famous story, maybe apocryphal, maybe not, about him giving this amazing talk on Bitcoin neutrality to literally 2 people in a huge hall.
Wow. Still gave it his all.
Apparently so. Full energy. That talk is legendary now. And this book, it's basically a collection of his talks from 2013 to 2016. Really powerful, unscripted stuff he originally put out there for free. He wasn't just talking Bitcoin as currency back then. He was talking about this idea of an internet of money, a whole new layer on the internet, different from the internet of information we all use, more like an internet of value.
Okay, let's get into that. Money feels so fundamental, right? Like it's always been there, but how old is it? Antonopoulos pushes back on our usual assumptions.
Oh, way back. He argues it's ancient, maybe 500,000 years old. Predating writing even?
Older than writing.
Yeah, which is funny because writing likely started as, accounting, keeping track of value. And it's not just humans. He points out that even smart animals, like primates or crows, they develop token systems, little pebbles for value.
Seriously, monkeys using pebbles like money.
Yep. And apparently it leads to all sorts of economic behavior you'd recognize, even things like strong-arming others for their pebbles or trading them for, favors. All driven by wanting bananas, basically.
That's wild. Okay, so for humans, we went from barter, swapping goods directly.
Right, which is inefficient.
To abstract things, feathers, beads, shells, things that represented value.
Exactly. Items that weren't for direct consumption, but stood for something else, a shared idea of value.
And then the big shift to precious metals, gold, silver, because they were scarce, portable, divisible.
And universally seen as valuable, yeah. It ticked all the boxes for a good medium of exchange.
So how long did that reign last before the next big change?
Well, the move from metal coins to paper money, that took a surprisingly long time. About 400 years for people to really accept it widely. And think about the reaction back then. People freak out about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Imagine telling someone, okay, forget that gold coin. This piece of paper is just as good.
They must have thought it was crazy. Paper has no inherent value like gold does.
Precisely. It really drives home Antonopoulos' point. Money is fundamentally a language. It's a social agreement, a construct we all sort of agree to believe in.
And the most recent step before Bitcoin was plastic, right? Credit cards, roughly 60 years ago.
Yeah, another layer of abstraction. And each time, society gets nervous. Antonopoulos calls money a shared cultural hallucination. And every time a new form appears, people resist, thinking this time it's not real money. Like, how many people still think the U.S. dollar is backed by gold? It hasn't been for decades, but the idea persists.
Okay, so if money keeps evolving, keeps abstracting, how is Bitcoin different? It's digital, sure, but dollars and euros are mostly digital now too, aren't they? Like 92% or something?
Right, but those are digital representations of centralized currency, issued and controlled by banks and governments. Bitcoin is fundamentally different in its structure. Antonopoulos calls it network-centric, protocol-based money. It exists purely on the network, based on rules, without needing any bank or institution.
Network-centric. What does that mean in practice? How does it work differently?
The key is its peer-to-peer, or P2P, architecture. Think about something like Facebook that's client-server. Facebook, the company, controls everything.
Yeah, the central hub.
Right. But in Bitcoin, everyone running the software is an equal peer. They all talk the same protocol, follow the same rules. As he says, there are no special Bitcoin nodes. All nodes are the same, complete equals.
Okay, and how does that compare to banking?
Traditional banking. That's what he calls a master-slave architecture. The bank is the master, holding the money, which is actually a debt they owe you. You, the customer, are the slave in that relationship, needing their permission.
Never thought of it quite like that.
With Bitcoin, it's totally different. It's about direct ownership. Possession is 10/10 of the law. If you hold the private keys, it's your Bitcoin. Period. Nobody owes it to you. It's not debt.
That architectural difference must have huge implications for society.
Massive. Antonopoulos argues traditional finance, because of its hierarchy, inherently creates negative outcomes. It's restrictive. It's not egalitarian. It reflects national borders and class divisions.
Yeah, it's weird how the internet connected the whole world for information, but money stayed stuck in these old, separate national systems. Parochial, insular, and separated, as he puts it.
Exactly. So Bitcoin offers, potentially, a new architecture, new access.
Yeah.
Just like the internet opened up communication for everyone, Bitcoin aims to give anyone, anywhere, the power of banking on a global scale.
Oh.
Through neutrality. It's the first financial network that genuinely doesn't care who is sending, who is receiving, how much, or why.
It doesn't judge the transaction.
Not at all. If you pay the required network fee, the transaction is valid, period.
Wow.
There's no such thing as a spam transaction if the fee is paid. The market, the network users, decide the value of using the network, not some central authority.
And that neutrality leads to censorship resistance.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because there's no central choke point. There's no single entity you can pressure to block a transaction you don't like. Antonopoulos says that government's dream of total financial surveillance, tracking every single cent, basically died when Bitcoin launched in 2009.
Wow. That's a bold claim.
It is, but the architecture supports it. And this leads to the idea of banks for everyone. Billions of people are unbanked because they lack the ID or collateral traditional banks demand.
Right, the barriers are too high.
With Bitcoin, all you need is a basic smartphone. That phone becomes your Swiss bank. Private, secure, encrypted, capable of generating endless addresses for privacy. It flips the script, Governments want secrecy for themselves, but transparency for citizens. Bitcoin offers privacy for the individual.
Okay, so this is disruptive. And history tells us incumbents don't usually react well to disruption. You mentioned the early automobile.
Right, the parallels are striking. Think about the hysteria around the first cars. In the UK, 1896, they passed the Red Flag Act. Cars needed a crew of 3 driver, engineer, and someone walking ahead with a red flag.
Seriously, running ahead with a flag.
Yep. Talk about stifling innovation.
Yeah.
The UK basically handed the auto industry lead to others because of that kind of fear-based regulation.
And isn't it often true that criminals are early adopters of new tech?
Very often. Cars were getaway vehicles. Telephones were used for conspiracies, telegrams for fraud. Criminals operate in high-risk, high-reward settings, so they grab useful new tools quickly.
But Antonopoulos argues Bitcoin is past that stage.
Yeah, he's clear. Bitcoin is already way past its early stage and is no longer the purview of criminals. It's much broader now. But the reaction from incumbents, like banks, follows a predictable pattern. He lays out 3 phases.
What are they?
First, they ignore it. Like, oh, that little internet money thing, a lemonade stand trying to take on Walmart, cute.
Phase 2.
Mock. If it doesn't die, they ridicule it. Like people laughing at early motorists fixing their cars by the roadside. Bitcoin was for misfits, drug dealers, pornographers. You heard all that.
And the final phase.
The stampede. But it's usually way too late. Think Kodak inventing the digital camera but shelving it, then getting crushed by Nokia phones with cameras. Or Tower Records ignoring MP3s. Or IBM dismissing Linux, which started in a dorm room and now runs like 80% of everything: phones, servers, cars.
So the incumbents jump on the bandwagon only after they've already lost.
Pretty much. They try to adopt it, but they've missed the fundamental shift.
So where does that leave Bitcoin? It's been declared dead so many times. There's even a website for it, right? Bitcoinobituaries.com.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Antonopoulos calls it the zombie of currencies. Every time someone says it's dead, it just keeps going, still getting stronger. Ew. It survives attacks, adapts, gets more resilient, kind of like the early internet did.
Okay, so beyond just surviving, what's the transformative potential here? You mentioned remittances earlier. That seems huge.
It's absolutely massive. Think about it. $550 billion sent home every year, mostly by people in richer countries supporting families and poorer ones. And companies like Western Union take an average cut of 9%. That's coming directly from the pockets of the world's poorest people.
9% is a lot when you're sending small amounts.
It's huge. With Bitcoin, that same transfer can cost maybe 5 cents. A flat fee, not a percentage. Imagine the difference. Suddenly, 1 billion people can send home maybe $100 instead of just $91. That's life-changing, instantly.
That alone is incredible. But Antonopoulos seems to go further. He talks about how we're usually just born into currency.
Yeah, like your nationality. It's an artifact of the nation state that chooses you based on where you happen to be born. You don't get a say.
But Bitcoin offers a choice.
Yeah, exactly. He uses the analogy of inventing currency on the playground. Kids do it all the time, right? Trading Pokemon cards, bottle caps, whatever. They create little economies. So the question isn't if there will be other currencies, but how many currencies will exist?
And the answer is?
Like asking how many bloggers will there be? The answer is potentially all of us. Anyone can create a token, a currency. It flips the authority. You don't judge a currency by who issued it, like a government. You judge it by who uses it, by its community and utility.
Which means we could start treating currency as an application, choosing the right one for the job.
That's the vision. A unified currency experience. Imagine one wallet holding, I don't know, 150 different digital currencies. You want to buy a house, maybe you use Bitcoin for that large, secure settlement. Want to register a domain name, use Namecoin. Execute a smart contract, use Ether. Tip someone online, maybe Dogecoin.
And the wallet handles the conversions seamlessly.
Yeah, low cost, instant swaps based on what you need to do. Yeah. We might even see complex index currencies or meta currencies, like the S&P 500 bundles stocks. Maybe a crypto index bundles value or purchasing power across different assets.
Choosing your currency then becomes more than just a financial decision. He calls it a powerful political choice. Meta politics.
Right, because adopting a currency means you're aligning with its community, its values, its rules. Maybe you choose a deflationary one if you're a gold bug type, or maybe a green coin linked to environmental projects if that's your priority.
So currency choice reflects your values.
And currency creates sovereignty. The internet, by having its own native currency, gains economic independence. It makes the old nation-state model potentially less relevant. Think about that Egyptian blogger example he gives. They can not only write about change, but potentially fund it using Bitcoin, connecting globally with supporters.
It's a powerful idea, but Bitcoin isn't perfect. Antonopoulos acknowledges design challenges, right? He said the engineers made it absolutely inscrutable.
Yeah, usability is a big hurdle, especially early on. He talks about Bitcoin ATMs, the BTMs. They look like regular ATMs, which people associate with quick cash and an existing bank account.
But a new Bitcoin user has neither of those things.
Exactly. No account, no wallet maybe, no idea how it works. So the design metaphor is wrong. He argues BTM should be more like educational kiosks, offer video support, guides, focus on specific use cases like send money to Mexico City with a big, clear button, designed for the actual user journey.
That makes sense, and kids seem to grasp it faster.
Oh yeah. He tells that story about 10-year-olds downloading a wallet app and sending each other tiny amounts of Bitcoin. They get it intuitively. His point is, by the time those kids turn 16, old enough for a bank account, they'll already be done with banking in advance.
Right.
Because they'll have experienced instant, cheap, global, programmable money. Then they'll look at traditional banking, the delays, the fees, the paperwork, the borders, and just think it's absurdly slow and broken.
Like your Bundesbank story. 16 days for a wire transfer?
Exactly. 16 days, wrong codes, frozen funds. It's archaic compared to what crypto enables. These kids won't stand for it.
So, connecting this back to existing systems, credit cards, Antonopoulos says they're broken by design.
Fundamentally. Because every time you use one, you're transmitting your secret information, the card number, expiry, CVV.
The things needed to steal your money.
Right. That's why breaches are constant. He says you've either been hacked or you will be hacked. It's inevitable with that design.
How is Bitcoin different?
Bitcoin transactions transmit only a signed message authorizing the payment. They don't transmit the secret keys themselves. No sensitive data goes over the wire.
So it's secure by design.
Inherently more secure in that respect.
Yeah.
And that transaction, that signed message, can be sent anywhere, through any medium. This is where he emphasizes that money has become completely disconnected information content. The value, the transaction data, is separate from how it's transmitted. That 250-byte Bitcoin transaction, you can encode it as like 500 Skype emojis.
Seriously, smileys is money.
Or transmitted over shortwave radio, like WWII spies. Because it's just data. It's incredibly hard to stop information from flowing. He compares it to YouTube decoupling video from expensive TV studios, or Twitter decoupling text from printing presses. Separating content from medium unlocks massive creativity.
So Bitcoin isn't a finished product, it's more like Lego blocks.
That's a great analogy he uses. It's not a pre-built toy car, it's a box of bricks. It's a platform that guarantees certain trust functions, like preventing double spending, ensuring ownership. It gives you ingredients and a recipe book, not a finished meal.
And people are building things with those blocks.
Amazing things. Crowdfunding mechanisms, payment channels for microtransactions, like streaming video by the second. The Lightning Network built on top of those channels. Meanwhile, he argues, banks are busy tweaking minor conveniences, swipe versus tap cards, totally missing the big picture about banking the unbanked or fixing the core security flaws. They're optimizing the horse-drawn carriage while the car is being invented.
Okay, one last big topic. Scaling. That's always the debate, isn't it? Can Bitcoin handle global demand? Antonopoulos says scaling is a moving target.
Yeah, and he draws parallels with the internet's history again. Usenet couldn't scale. Then email couldn't scale with attachments. Then the web couldn't scale.
But they all did eventually.
They did. But crucially, they always failed to scale for the next big thing while successfully scaling for the previous one. This constant state of failing to scale gracefully for 25 years, always pushing the boundaries, that's actually been the internet's secret sauce.
And Bitcoin is doing the same.
He argues yes. When the network gets congested, fees rise, maybe some low-value transactions take longer. But what does that do?
It pushes people to find solutions.
Exactly. It incentivizes building better wallets that manage fees smartly. It makes expanding the network too expensive. It drives innovation in Layer 2 solutions like Lightning. The core principle holds. Pay the market rate fee, and your transaction is legitimate and will get through. It's a dynamic system, not a fixed capacity one.
That's definitely a lot to think about. So we've gone from the ancient origins of value exchange to this idea of a programmable global internet of money. It's clear Bitcoin, in this view, isn't just digital cash. It's potentially a fundamental shift in how we connect, transact, maybe even how we structure society.
Yeah, and the takeaway, I think, is that these huge shifts often look strange, even ridiculous at first. The pushback, the skepticism, that can actually be a sign of just how disruptive something really is.
And it touches everything. Finance, sure, but also freedom, privacy, innovation, how we organize ourselves.
So the question for you listening is, what part of this resonates most? How do you see this internet of money potentially changing things? Are we as a society ready for money to become a choice, an application, a form of expression?
Lots to ponder there. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.